Hey, it's me, John, aka Jab. It's Wednesday, August 21st, 2024, and I'm on a roll just making a bunch of videos. Again, this is not a scripted video. I want to talk about the AMD 9000 series launch. And if you really want a really high value production video on it that covers pretty much most of what I'm going to say here, go check out Tom at Moore's Law is Dead. Uh, the way he ended the video was perfect. There was no need to even launch the 9000 series yet. And they're clearly not finished. They weren't polished. There was no need. There was no Intel was making them. Intel's got no moves right now. Intel's moves is to just shut up, and they're just Intel has no moves. So basically, there's a few things I would like to see AMD do. I don't know if they will do it, but I think it's okay to have low power chips. I think there's nothing inherently wrong with having a 9700X be low power, but I'm going to be honest, as someone who does like to occasionally game, when, because I'm working all the time, I'm building my own business. So, yeah, I like the 7800X, the X3D chips being low power but high performance. That's very desirable, but they're not like 65-watt parts. And we don't need if I get amazing performance on a 65-watt part, that's fine. And I think they overreacted, and that's a big problem. Is no, we don't want 170-watt TDPs, and I don't want I don't mind the option. Like there's a program called Power Scheme Switcher, and it gives you a little button at the bottom on the taskbar here in Windows, and you get to right click and choose like balanced, power saver or high performance or whatever power profiles are available. I think it would be very convenient if AMD released 65, 105, 125, 140, and 170, and be able to just right click and choose your wattage and boom. I would say probably, call like 105 or 105 and 120 balanced. And the process, like if you go into the software and look at how the CPU throttles when it doesn't need to be doing anything, it drops the clocks, and then when it needs to do something, it jumps the clocks back up. It's not like back in the day where you got a 3 gigahertz processor and it was 3 gigahertz the entire time. These things will drop to a few hundred megahertz. So on cores that are not active. So and they don't even have to, So anyway, but back to the launch. So there was no need to launch the processors. There's no I, no one's got any idea why they felt forced to launch processors. I agree with the notion that, I saw that some rumors that they were going to release an update for the 9700, 9600 and increase the wattage to like 105 watts. That's okay. I think being able to have the option to set the power very low or very high, or have multiple options in between. And I would say have the number first, space dash space, and then call it something like balanced, medium, balanced low, low power, and then maximum performance, performance, medium performance, whatever. Give them something. And only make like the 170-watt being maximum performance, being on the 170-watt TDP. There's nothing inherently wrong with having the option of having a 170-watt TDP. It's just that the idea that the chip inside my rig is going to be running at like boiling or near boiling point for water, sustainably, no. When I got my ARC 6800, there's a 0 RPM option. I was looking at the fans. The fans aren't spinning. I'm thinking, great, I got a dud. all the fans on my card are dead, right? No, it's an option in the Radeon software that's called 0 RPM, and it's on by default. The option is on to turn the fans off. The card's at like 50 something degrees Celsius, which I guess is like 120 degrees Fahrenheit. And I put on I created the settings. I exported the file because sometimes the software crashes. I have to reset it, and I don't want to go through all the settings manually. So I set the I import the profile settings. It would be nice to be able to set the program to use my custom export as the default setting. So if it crashes, it goes to that, and if someone screws that up, then that's their fault. Or like limit what options people could set as a default, but still, at least I can import and not have my fans sitting there. I like no, I want the fans always on. I can't hear. In fact, I have the wires coming underneath the bedroom door, and my computer that outputs a ton of heat is in the hallway, pointing away from my room. Anyway, so but yeah, 105, 125 watts TDP. There's nothing wrong with that, and I don't mind 170 watt TDP on a CPU as long as it's an option that I can opt into, but isn't the default. But 60 watts, 65 watts, or whatever. No, that was a we want extreme right, so we're gonna go extreme left or blah blah blah. No, no, let's not do extreme, please. So Tom made some good points that I was already thinking of. That's fine, and I'm just kind of iterate my thoughts here in my own way. I think that yeah, release the 9800X, max it out, give it a 105 watt default with the ability and high performance node to go up to 170 watts if you want. I would like to see. I don't know if there's much CPU control in the Radeon software. I don't. I see the Radeon software is more of a settings versus AMD Ryzen Master is more of a tweak thing. It's a little odd. I just kind of how I feel about it. I would love the ability to say I don't want my CPU to be go above this temperature unless I'm doing like a very high load process. That would be desirable. Like if I'm doing like I have a 3800X with 8 cores, 16 threads. If I'm using all 16 threads 100% for like 2 hours straight, yeah, I would expect 70, 80, you know, Celsius, sustained temperatures because I'm maxing out the processor for whatever. Excuse me. So, what else? So, yeah, I think releasing a 9800X that just kind of pushes the power envelope, but still, when it's idle, is not killing the power. Maybe is a good idea. But I would only do that if I were AMD. If we're gonna see like at least a 10% performance improvement over what is it the 7700. Yeah, because they keep screwing up the numbers. And so that's another thing I want AMD to stop doing. AMD needs to fire the marketing people and get actual marketing people. So I'll give you an example. If your product is better than the competition, compare to the competition. Um, Now, Nvidia, unfortunately, wasn't resting on the laurels, and they dumped a shit ton of cash on L2, and that's why the 4090 is a large part why the 4090 is just insanely fast. It just has a stupid amount of cash. And we go back and we look at the X3D chips. Why are they just absolutely slaughtering Intel in gaming performance? There's a lot of cash. Okay, so that's another thing. I have not seen or heard a single person saying, John, I sure like having different CPU cores so that way it screws with the Windows scheduler. I don't want maximum performance. I want screwy performance because there's different cores. We don't want different cores. We don't want like on for the peasants buying Intel, and I know some people just they get Intel because that's what they could afford or whatever, and that's what was available, and I get that, but no one really wants big cores and efficiency cores. We just you want you want your 8 performance cores or 12 or 16 performance. You don't want performance cores, or if you or Tom at Moore's Law is Dead was awesome podcast where I used to not like the podcast. Now I'm starting to watch them a little bit more because I like the 15-30 minute short format. I watch when I eat a meal, I sit down, I relax, I'll watch a video. I do not do business when I'm having a meal. It's my brain. I'm relaxing because I'm doing tech all the time. And they're saying in the server environment, because yes, I work with servers, but I'm not a server administrator. I have to do server administration, but my host takes care of a lot of that, and I get to ask them questions because I have to wear literally every hat in my business. And like, either give me all performance cores or give me all efficiency cores. Do not mix them. The operating system does not know how to schedule between them appropriately, and you like say, okay, yeah, we got a few dozen games we've optimized. I have a screenshot that I turned into a meme where Steam did they fixed a bug for users who have 25,000 or more games. And it's like the guy spitting, like he's eating and he's spitting out. So like, what the? Okay. That's more than a few dozen. Now, I don't know if they optimize for a few dozen or a few hundred, but I don't think anyone is going to optimize for each of one of thousands, tens of thousands of games, let alone pieces of software. So I don't want, I really don't. And so I think with I've heard rumors that they're going to do with the 9000 X3D chips, they're going to have one cache and one CCD core complex or whatever, and the regular core. No, we don't want that. Like all the videos I've seen where they're talking about that, I think mostly just Tom at Moore's Law is Dead. Everyone's saying don't do the cache on both or put the cache on both. It's okay to have like a 16 core without the extra cache. That's fine. There are legit, but don't. When they came out with the 7950 X3D, and they released that in a 7900 X3D, like 2 or 4 weeks before the 70, because they knew people wanted the 7800 X3D. Right, it's gaming cache effectively. That's cache that mostly benefits just gaming, maybe a few other things. And I don't do anything like on occasion. I'll do a video encode, or re-encode a video, or I don't want SRT files all over the place in my video folders. I want to double click on a video, open the video, go on there. So I don't want to add more clutter. That's something I have to catch up on. I want to re-encode videos. I don't need a video to be 8 GB when it could be 1 GB and have practically the same, quality. And how many times I'm going to watch the same video? Okay, so I don't need 16 dedicated cores, 32 threads, and there's some videos where like, hey, yeah, 6 cores, 12 threads is still gonna do pretty well in most for most games, but I still like having 8 actual cores, and the 16 threads is nice. But anyway, yeah, why is I think one of the big issues that AMD has is yes, the tech people are in charge, and especially in a technical based business, any business that's completely inundated, just they are absolutely all about tech. There's no question. AMD's they're not selling pounds, okay? They're not selling fruit at the corner, okay? They're selling chips, they're selling CPUs, GPUs, doing the other stuff. You need tech people in charge of that. But I think they need to do a lot better job at listening to what people actually want. So I think that that they are listening to people, but not enough. And they're not. They need to really drive it home. If you're gonna do a 9950 X3D, you got to have 3D V-cache on both of those core complexes. That makes it interesting because everyone who has experience with the stuff is saying don't mix the cores. They're never with the countless tens of thousands of games. That's games. Games a is like one finger on a hand, but your hand has like video editing, software, software development, software compilation. I mean, what do I have on here? I've got like 200 different versions of browsers, mostly Chrome and Firefox. I have Otter, Brave, NetSurf, Pale Moon, Vivaldi, WaterFox is my primary. I've got any video encoder, Audacity, Avigmux, GIMP for it's a image editor, Inkscape, NKV, Toolnix, OBS. There's one I'm using right now, OpenShot video editor. Media players, Faststone image viewers, great for images. Media Player Classic is what I use for my video. VLC, Winamp. I do use Paint. Paint does, when I got Photoshop, an older version, but I don't need the new version. The new version will do much for me. What I have for Office, I use LibreOffice. I use the now it's a third-party utility, the calculator, um, sticky notes, FileSeek, advanced find and replace is huge for web development. I mean, the number of programs I use to do specific tasks is insane. So I really can't drive home enough that heterogeneous computing, like my best guess, because I don't work with the hardware really directly. Okay, my best guess is take something and create an instruction set. Like, let me open up CPU-Z here, and MMX I think is an instruction set. I mean that's super old. SSE, come on CPU ID. Wow, it's just like taking sweet ass time. What do we have here on my AMD 3800X? MMX, SSE, SSE2, SSE3, SSE3, E3? No, SSSE3. There's a whole bunch of others. There's a bunch of SSEs. X86-64, which is 64-bit computing. AES, AVX, AVX2, FM3. There's AVX 512, which are on, so a lot of the new Ryzen 9000 chips, they're getting glowing reviews for like server, like servers and stuff like that. And that's fine because it's not always about gaming. I probably, like, on a really aggressive week, I might play 10, 15 hours. Like, if I'm just bombing out on a week and I just need to mentally recover and regain some energy and just kind of chill, relax, and whatnot, and just let go and not deal with things and just kind of relax. So it's okay that they're not an amazing upgrade for video games. Um, but another issue is lying. I don't like lying. I especially don't like to lie myself, and I really don't like seeing AMD is supposed to be the good guys, and I would like to see AMD. I'd love and I'd love to see Nvidia knock down like 1,001 notches. They kick out Jensen. He'll retire someday, and maybe they'll stop being total worthless trash criminals. Nvidia's purely criminal. They just so happen to have video cards, and most people who buy their products they don't audit the business. And one of the refreshing things about this video that Tom released at Moore's Law is Dead, the YouTube channel, is that at least in the server environment, there's this guy, you can't see him on screen, it's just voice, which is fine. He wants to say anonymous, which is fine. He's saying they don't want NVIDIA only. They don't want a single source. Anyway, I'll make an NVIDIA video sometime. Um, so when they're marketing, if you can't show a realistic improvement to, if you can, above all else, first compare yourself to your competitors. If you can't do that well, because let's say we're talking, RDNA 3 versus, NVIDIA. So if we're comparing the absolute top cars, 7900 XTX needs too much energy, power consumption to compete against the 4090. No one needs 5,000 frames per second. All right. There's some people who their whole ego is based on that, and that they're a hollow shell of a being. Okay. And yes, there's some people like they scrape and save up and they get the best card they can possibly get, and it's not about their ego. They just want to like have the best gaming experience. That's fine. Um, so if you can't compare yourself the way you want to against the competition, compare yourself against to where you were the previous generation in this thing. Compare yourself against yourself. And with the Ryzen 9000, let's say that they release strong. And it's important to, when you do release strong. And they rushed out the gates. And I think that was a huge disservice to everyone, most especially themselves. Because they absolutely didn't need to do that. And so basically, what they needed to do was say, because it was power efficiency, and there's nothing, and power efficiency is fantastic, okay? Release 2 8 cores. They're not doing the X3D until a little bit later. That's fine. Release, a 105 watt part, and release or an 80 90 watt part and call it low power. Let's say, I guess they don't want to burn the 9700, so they'll use 9700X. Okay, well, guess what? You can use the 9800 number, okay? So release a high power part. So what I would do is if I were AMD, okay, this is what I would do, but I don't know everything they know, okay? But from my perspective, I'd release a 9800X, regular 9800X, okay, high power, still make that when it's idle, okay, still power efficient, but when you need the power, just kill it. Get that 10-15% performance improvement over what was the 7700X on average in the games, and just go for it, or at least as close as possible. All right, and because they have the 9700X, increase the power to 105, still keep it efficient, still keep it cool. All right, and now you have a couple options. Options are good. Now, when I say a couple options, I don't mean Intel with 37,000 options. And if you don't know, to not buy Intel for like literally every reason in the world, because like Nvidia, they're not a business, they're a criminal organization that so happens to pretend like they're a business. No, they do so much criminal stuff. So yeah, I really think that AMD needs to really listen to what people in the industry want. We don't want heterogeneous computing. One core type, you have 4, 6, 8, 16, however many cores, but they're all the same cores. And I don't know, maybe there is an industry that actually could really use heterogeneous computing. I don't know who they are. I haven't heard of it. I haven't heard any reports of that. If they exist, that's fine. But I really consider that a niche, especially since you'd have to optimize and do they have the ability to optimize, or are they stuck waiting on Microsoft and Linux vendors to do that? And how many programs are going to optimize for it? So So when people do the benchmark reviews, there's tons of different benchmarks, and I try to watch multiple benchmarks. I get some of them. I don't care about extreme amounts of details with all. I want to get an overview. I want to get some details, but not extreme ones. There's this German dude who gets like, that's where DeBauer, I think, yeah, and I can appreciate his grasp on the tech, but it's for me as much as I love tech. There's a point past which it's like, is it faster or not? Is it 10% faster? Is it 20% faster? Is it 10% faster, but I can turn up the power to get 15% faster? You know, can I tweak the things? Can I fix the bugs? Are they going to do a new release and with the software and then driver updates in a week or two? And okay, it fixes the bug, but it's really rock solid. And unlike Intel, I'll still have that CPU working in 5, 10 years from now when I hand it down to a family member or I sell the computer or whatever. Those that's a lot of it. So I don't know. I think AMD as and I keep referencing Tom Moore's Law is dead, but he makes a lot of really excellent points. AMD needs to learn how to be number one, and Intel needs to learn how to be number two. Simple as that. I don't want to see Intel go bankrupt and disappear, and we just have AMD making x86 CPUs. I don't want to see that. Uh, but Intel doesn't deserve 80% market share. That's stupid. So hopefully things will work out where we'll see more of a 50-50. I think it's good to see Qualcomm coming. I don't really know anything about Qualcomm. I don't know if they're evil, if they're good, if they're neutral. Okay. It's a clean slate. They botched their launch, and I think you really that's another thing I would like to talk about with the RDNA side is see AMD really work on the software and make it so incredibly easy to use their software. And there was the report that they're now going to become a software business, like Nvidia became a software business, and I'm all for that as long as they need the AI stuff can be good, but I got an RX 6800X, just a regular 6800. I can't run AI programs on my video card. Everything wants CUDA, everything wants NVIDIA. And I think it was a really good idea that they were working on an abstraction layer that it would just work with CUDA. And I think the fake courts, because there's no courts, there's no government, I'm not going to get into that. I think they should absolutely destroy NVIDIA on the whole proprietary CUDA and trying to prevent anyone else from using it. And I think they absolutely, I mean, NVIDIA does not deserve like maybe more than 5 or 6% of the revenue that they're getting right now. Um, and I hope that they continue to damage the perception they have with gamers by releasing crappy 8 GB cards for the 50, 60, and the trash entry level 12 gigs is entry. It's entry level. I have used 16 gigs, but that's a whole other thing. I don't want to get into the NVIDIA stuff. But yeah, I think AMD definitely needs to improve. They have definitely been improving. I don't want to take that away from them. I think that if they just refine a bit more and they put some really good focus, we could get some really amazing stuff out of AMD. Listen to people, cut out the heterogeneous stuff. Don't lie in marketing. It's lying. We don't like false advertising. We don't like lying. If you can't compare a product to the competition directly and honestly, like compare it to one of your own things. Or if you can't compare it to the last generation, like the 7700 to the 9700, and there's no 20% gaming improvements, it's plus or minus 3%, okay, then focus on the other aspects. Focus on the price performance and the wattage and show that, hey, this CPU uses 80 watts versus 400 watts on Intel, and you get the same performance. And your 10 by 10 foot cubicle room, which is as shit dinky as it gets, it's not, That would be a real world example. All right. How many of you, because this is a tech channel. Jack Creation is all about tech. I might post about some non-tech stuff on occasion, but how many of you have your rig in your room and you run it 24/7 in your room? You walk out of your room and boom, the temperature goes down like 5-10 degrees. So I have the wires running underneath my door, my rig out in the hallway because it's just an absolute. I'm in Florida, not by choice. I might add. Um, don't come to Florida if you don't have to. Fair warning. Um, anyway, so yeah, I would really like to see AMD improve. I don't want AMD to become the next Intel or the next Nvidia, as in the context of doing criminal stuff. And I think false advertising and blatant outright lies is that gateway drug, so to speak. Take the time, finish the product, get it cleaned up. When they release the new motherboards with the X3D and maybe a 9800X, make sure it's clean, it's working. Don't release with memory issues. It's okay to take a few extra weeks and clean it up. Absolutely. When I do software, like right now, I've been doing a few weeks and just cleaning up the software, and people are like, "Why does it take so long?" Why? Because it just takes one bug to derail the entire presentation, and boom, there goes $3,000-4,000. There goes rent for the month. There goes all the bills. There goes the money I need to take care of my health, etc. So they can afford to delay a launch, and I really hope that they get the launches in the next month or two or whenever, that they delay it, they get it done, they clean it up, they get all the issues refined, and they release strong. Anyway, that's my thoughts on AMD. Hopefully they do all that stuff and more. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.